Okay, so the Bucks, they finally made the NBA Finals with Giannis and Budenholzer, if you want to consider that to be the modern regime of this team, because things shifted, of course, when Budenholzer took over. For as much as we might crap on him sometimes, he did make adjustments in this series. I mean, early on, it was super drop coverage, Trae Young walking into easy floaters all day. As the series went along, the defense got more aggressive, stepping up more, still dropping, but at least stepping up more. And then in these last couple games, just straight up switching with Giannis not out there. And while Trae's injury most likely affected him in this one, it still really bothered Atlanta. I mean, they just could not get inside as much as they were in previous games of this series. And Milwaukee's size and energy and all that just really overwhelmed him. And then on the other side of things, I mean, Brook Lopez turning back the clock in the last one and them having a team-wide game plan of let's let Brook go off in this game. Getting to him in the post and looking for him on cuts and rolls and all that. Then in this one, we had Drew and Middleton just making a lot of tough shots. I mean, there were a lot of just threes. It was like raining threes for the Bucks at one point. I know Cam Reddish did the same thing and made it interesting, but I mean, you had Brook Lopez making a three with a guy in his face in the corner. You had Jeff Teague making one off of a PJ Tucker offensive rebound. PJ Tucker, huge, of course. You have Middleton making his pull-ups and his fadeaway mid-rangers. You got Drew at least one step-back three in this one. I think Jeff Teague was like 3 for 3 from outside, which was quietly huge. And so here we are. And now the obvious question is, of course, will Giannis be out there for the finals? If he is, it's extremely interesting. If he's not, is anyone going to pick the Bucks to beat Phoenix? I don't think so. And now I want to talk about the Hawks for a bit. We'll probably do a video on what they do next. The obvious things are you give Nate McMillan a contract, you call him the official head coach, not the interim guy, and there's still the John Collins thing. My gut feeling is that they will overpay for Collins, which I think is fine. I mean, it's either that or somebody gives you a really good offer, you know? I mean, are you really going to lose him for nothing? Like, yeah, I get it. He's not perfect, but he certainly helped in this playoff run, you know? So anyway, what a damn run. I mean, Trae Young, I don't know where he was before these playoffs in the hierarchy of the league, but he's clearly higher now. He's probably in that group that constantly changes a little bit after like number 10 or so. And I think what Atlanta showed is you can speed up a rebuild or a young team's trajectory in a way that makes sense and you're not having veterans stepping on young guys' toes and stuff. I mean, you have Cam Reddish, who is still getting a lot of minutes this season. DeAndre Hunter was unfortunately hurt. That's the other thing going into next year is him just coming back. But it all mixed together well since Nate McMillan took over. And the roster construction just made sense. I mean, it's pick and roll point guard with run, jump, dunk, center, shooters around that. But it's not just stationary shooters. It's guys who can still do something off the dribble. I mean, they had to acquire Lou Will, and he gave them a little bit more of that. But, I mean, Herter, he can make a pull-up jumper. Bogdan can do the same. Gallo, I mean, he was making turnaround jumpers, and he was going for mismatches this whole series. John Collins able to do stuff in the post. I mean, you think about the James Harden Rockets, and this is kind of random as hell, but one problem that they often had was they had too many guys who couldn't dribble around Harden or CP or Harden, Westbrook, whatever. Whereas you could tell the Hawks made sure to not have that ever be a big problem with this team. I mean, going forward, I mentioned DeAndre Hunter again. That guy showed real shot creation skills this season. So you could have this team that is able to make shots and make catch and shoot threes off of Trae driving to the rim and running his stuff with Capella, but they can also go off the dribble. They can also create for themselves, and that could also open up Trae playing off the ball more as well. So it was all just really well done, and it happened so fast. I mean, sure, they certainly benefited from the Sixers vomiting on themselves, but a lot of teams wouldn't have been ready for that anyway. We also learned that the whole Trae Young's defense in the playoffs thing, it did not end up being as big of a deal as we thought. And I think the biggest reason for that is because if you just put Trae on the weakest offensive player on the other team, it's like, what are they going to do? They're going to run offense through their weakest guy? They're not going to do that. Now, if you run into a team that puts 4 guys out there with size who can create and shoot, then you could run into some problems. But guess what? Most teams, even the really good ones, don't have that. So Atlanta's looking good. There will be a conversation about their salary stuff and whether they should look to get aggressive again with some sort of move or just have this team with DeAndre Hunter coming back healthy. We'll see. But they're in a good spot. And before I end up doing my actual finals prediction, which, spoiler alert, will basically just come down to whether Giannis plays or not, honestly, the biggest thing besides that is the pick and roll defense again. Because it's a similar thing. It's from Trae to CP. It's, are you going to super drop? Are you going to kind of drop? Are you going to switch? Are you going to hedge? Like, well, what's going to be the game plan here? And on the other end of things, it's between Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. Is that enough of a wall to block off Giannis from doing whatever he wants, assuming he's playing, while still not just giving open threes up to Middleton and Drew all day? I don't know if there's a whole lot of mismatches. I mean, will the Bucks really lean into Giannis setting screens on whoever Devin Booker is defending? There could be that. You could also try it on CP. I mean, I know CP's a great post defender, and he always finds a way to be bigger than he actually is defensively. Whether it's always legal is a different question of how he does it, but he manages to do it. That said, if you've got CP defending Giannis, I feel like Giannis could have success there, you know what I mean? Unless CP is just that sturdy to where he's not moving no matter what Giannis does. The other thing to think about is the Brook Lopez-DeAndre Ayton matchup. Who's going to kill who on the boards? I mean, obviously both teams are going to send extra guys to the boards, I know that, but it's going to be a lot on those two. Will we see any post-ups for either one of them at all? I mean, we saw both of them be featured more later on in their series, and both of them had a lot of success. So will that carry over to the next series, or will it just be like, nah, we don't really want to try to have these guys score on each other? The math says they're too big. You're not going to make enough of those hook shots. You're not going to get fouled enough. Let's just not bother. Also, who's defended Middleton? I guess it would be Mikal Bridges. That makes the most sense to me, right? We saw Middleton, through a little part of this series, struggle against Cam Reddish. Would he struggle against Mikal and his alien arms? It's a possibility. If Giannis is not playing, then I guess you can throw Crowder at Middleton, but at the same time, if Giannis isn't playing, then I don't think we're going to have much of an NBA Finals. So hopefully he's out there. And, for what it's worth, for all the conversation about, injuries and whatever, there's a lot of pessimism you can find on NBA Twitter for these playoffs. Granted, you can find pessimism on NBA Twitter, just period. But if Giannis is healthy, I feel like Bucks Suns is a pretty awesome finals. I mean, you got the whole thing about like Giannis knocking on the door of being one of the best players in the league. He already is, but you know what I mean. Versus CP's one real chance of the title and Devin Booker ascending. Like, I feel like the storylines are there. I think the X's and O's are there as well. So I think this series has a bit of something for everyone. So hopefully Giannis is playing.